Hi everyone, I'm your English teacher Raghavendra. Please keep your books open and let's go to Act 2, Scene 1, wherein you have the conversation between the husband and the wife. Brutus and, do you know what is Brutus's wife's name? It is Portia, Portia. And Portia is a self-made woman, self-asserting woman, unlike Calpurnia. In this play, Julius Caesar, we have two women characters of contradicting natures. Calpurnia is treated like a child by Caesar, whereas Brutus gives more importance to his wife Portia. But still, as all husbands do, including myself, we don't share every secret with our wives, do we? That's the problem. The same thing happens even with Brutus. That is, I think it is Ides of March, the 15th of March, and it is early morning, around 3 o'clock. And the conspirators have come to Brutus. They have discussed as to how they should assassinate Caesar, who should be assassinated, who should not. And after all these proceedings or discussions, Brutus and the other conspirators decide to go to Caesar's house at 8 o'clock in the morning. And they go away, and Brutus calls out to Lucius, but Lucius is fast asleep. Then Brutus feels happy about that boy who is so fast asleep. And Brutus says he asks Lucius to enjoy this honey heavy dew of slumber. Slumber means sleep. Sleep is sweet. Everybody loves to sleep. Everybody loves to fall asleep, dear friends. And hence, sleep is as sweet as honey, which is very heavy. Heavy in the sense, very refreshing, like dew, And it is sweet as honey. And the sleep is compared to honey heavy dew. It is as sound and as deep and as sweet as honey. Heavy gives us the meaning of Lucius enjoying a sound sleep. It's a heavy sleep. And he is enjoying it like a dewdrop. A dewdrop is refreshing. So when you sleep and get up, you would be refreshing. Your sleep refreshes your brain. Your sleep refreshes your mind. Hence, Brutus asked Lucius to enjoy this honey heavy dew of slumber. Slumber means sleep. And he says the boy is free from all cares and worries which adults have. Hence, the boy Lucius is not disturbed by these cares and worries as is Brutus. Understood? Hence, Brutus says, he is a boy, let him sleep. Look, I'll read out that passage once again. Boy Lucius, fast asleep? It's no matter. Enjoy the honey heavy dew of slumber. Thou hast no figures nor no fantasies. So you don't have any figures, you don't have any fantasies. Figures talk about problems. Fantasies talk about, disturbing imaginations. And he says the boy doesn't have these triggers and fantasies which busy care draws in the brains of men. Men's brains are disturbed by these problems, figures and fantasies. But whereas a boy is free from all these things, and hence thou sleepest so sound. That's why you are fast asleep. You are enjoying that sound sleep, he says. And these things, Brutus, tells us after the conspirators have left Brutus. And now Portia enters. And look at Portia. There is a conversation, very, very intimate and touching conversation between the husband and the wife, Brutus and Portia. Enter Portia. I'll read out the entire speech of Portia, which expresses her sense of being disturbed because her husband is disturbed. She doesn't know why her husband has not been able to sleep. She wants to know what is troubling Brutus, but because Brutus hasn't shared his worries, his idea of assassinating Caesar and all these things with his wife. The wife doesn't know anything. Now the wife sees some 6 to 7 conspirators coming and meeting Brutus and going away. And she is disturbed. It is 3 o'clock in the night, early in the morning. Enter Portia, and she says, Brutus, my lord. Look at the immediate response of Brutus. He wants his gentle wife not to be disturbed, not to be troubled. He wants her to take rest. Brutus says, Portia, what mean you? Wherefore rise you now? It's not for your health thus to commit your weak condition to the raw, cold morning. This is a raw, cold morning, very shivering morning, and it is not proper, good for your health to expose yourself to this cold morning. Wherefore rise you now? What do you want? What mean you? Portia, what do you want from me? That you have woken up and come to me at this time of morning. Wherefore rise you now? Why did you wake up? And it is not for your health thus to commit. Look at this. It is not good for your health to commit. Commit means to expose your weak condition. A woman being physically weak is not supposed to expose her weak body to the raw, cold morning, this biting cold. Then Portia says, why? If you say it is not good for my health, it is not good for even your health as well. Look at Portia's reply. I'll read out the entire speech of Portia, which she speaks to her husband. Go through every line and try to understand every line on your own. And after completing the speech, I'll come back to the first line and start explaining everything. Look at Portia. She says, nor for yours neither. You have ungently Brutus stole from my bed. And yesternight at supper, you suddenly arose and walking about, musing and sighing, with your arms crossed. And when I asked you what the matter was, you stared upon me with ungentle looks. I urged you further. Then you scratched your head and too impatiently stamped with your foot. Yet I insisted. Yet you answered not, but with an angry wafture of your hand gave sign for me to leave you. So I did. Fearing to strengthen that impatience which seemed too much enkindled with you. And withal hoping it was but an effect of humour, which sometime hath this hour with every man. It will not let you eat, nor talk, nor sleep. And could it work so much upon your shape, at it that much prevailed on your condition, I should not know you, Brutus. Oh dear my Lord, make me acquainted with your cause of grief. That Brutus says, I am not well in health, and that is all, my dear wife, he says. He says, he gives answer in 2 sentences to such a longish speech given by his wife. I'll read out from the beginning. Hope you have understood at least a little bit when I gave the first read through. Look at this. I will read out once again for your benefit. When Brutus asked his wife not to expose her weak body to the cold morning, Portia says, nor for yours neither. It is not good even for you, she says. Why should it be bad for me and good for you? It is not good even for you. Then, when the husband leaves his bed without informing his wife, it is not gentlemanly on the part of her husband. The same thing she says here. You have ungently, Brutus, stole from my bed. Look at these words. Very carefully used by Shakespeare. She says, you have ungently. You have very harshly, without any love for me, you stole from my bed. We were sleeping together and you woke up and went out of the bed like a thief. You stole from my bed. This is one bad behavior of a husband. And yesterday, and she reminds him of what he did the previous night. She says, and yesterday at supper, you were having your supper. In the middle, you suddenly rose up. You suddenly arose and you started walking about. You started walking up and down, musing and sighing, murmuring and expressing your, sense of regret, disappointment, and sense of discomfort. That's called sighing. When you are not comfortable, you sigh. You see, that's the meaning of a sigh. She says, yesterday at supper, you suddenly arose and walked about, and walking about, you started musing and sighing. You started talking to yourself like a mad fellow. Something was eating into your mind. I understood. And with your arms crossed, you held your arms behind your back and started walking, murmuring and sighing. And when I asked you what the matter was, I asked you, oh my dear husband, what's the matter? Do you know what reply you gave me? And when I asked you what the matter was, you stared upon me with ungentle looks. Instead of answering my question, you looked at me angrily. You stared upon me with ungentle looks. You looked at me like a stranger, not like a husband. Your eyes did not have that love and affection that a husband should have for his wife. And when I asked you what the matter was, you stared upon me with ungentle looks. And I urged you further. I didn't stop at that. I urged you further. I requested you once again. I wanted to know what was disturbing you. Why you couldn't eat your supper? In the middle, you got up and started walking up and down, murmuring and talking to yourself and sighing. When I asked you, you just stared upon me with ungentle looks. I didn't keep quiet. I thought it was the duty of a wife to know what was troubling the husband. I urged you further. When I requested you again, do you know what you did? Then you scratched your head. You did not know how to answer me or what to answer me. Then you scratched your head and too impatiently, very angrily, do you know what you did? Very impatiently, you stamped with your foot. You hit the floor with your foot very hard, expressing that you are being disturbed by me. Yet I insisted. Yet I forced you to share your secret sorrows with me. Yet you answered not. Still you did not answer me. Instead of answering me, do you know what you did, my dear husband? With an angry gesture of your hand, with your hand you signaled me to leave. Just go away from here, you foolish lady. But with an angry gesture of your hand, you waved your hand like this and gave me sign to leave you. You asked me to leave you immediately, so I did. Thinking that you were not in good mood. Because sometimes when people are not in good mood, you should leave them to themselves. And they would come to terms with themselves a little later. If we go and speak to them, their anger would increase, Leave them to themselves. The same thing she did. Yet I insisted, yet you answered not. But with an angry gesture of your hand, you gave sign for me to leave you. So I did. In the same way, I left you and went away. Why should I leave you? Fearing. I was afraid. I was scared to strengthen, to increase your impatience. You were already impatient, and I thought if I went on forcing you to share your secret sorrows, you would become angrier and angrier. And that anger in a person would disturb his mental state or his state of mind, Impatience would shake a person's mind. Hence she says, fearing to strengthen that impatience which seemed so much enkindled. I thought it was too much upon you. Your impatience was growing like a forest fire. It was too much enkindled. It was too much growing, That's why I thought I was afraid if I went on speaking to you, I would be increasing your anger instead of, cooling you down. And also hoping it was but an effect of humor. And I thought it was the effect of humor. Humor is a person's mood, M-O-O-D. Hoping it was but an effect of humor, that means that mood sometimes hath its hour with every man. Sometimes this mood disturbs every man. It will have its hour. Just as we say, every dog has its day. Everybody's bad humor will have its day with every man. And Portia thought, Portia thought perhaps this humor was enjoying its day with Brutus by disturbing him. And so Portia did not want to force him more and more, and hence she left him. She says, if a person is not in good mood, it will not let you eat. The same thing happened with Brutus. He couldn't have a supper. It will not let you eat, nor talk, nor sleep. The same thing is happening with Brutus. Just as Portia, had put it across to Brutus. Brutus could not eat his food. Brutus could not be at a fixed position for more than a minute. And Brutus has not been able to sleep after Cassius has instigated Brutus against Caesar for a month almost. It will not let you eat. It will not let you talk. It will not let you sleep. And then look at these two lines. Then it had worked so much upon you. If at all your mood had worked on your physical body more than what it had done to your mental state, then I wouldn't have recognized you, she says. The mood is changed. Brutus's mood is changed. Brutus's, way of thinking is changed, disturbed, because of his thoughts about assassinating Caesar. And Portia says, if that mood had shown its effect on your physical body, even your physical body would have completely changed, and I would not have recognized you as my husband, she says. She uses exaggeration here, but still it is very, very important, dear friends. She says, and could it work so much upon your shape as it had much prevailed on your condition? It has taken your condition into its control, that mood, that impatience. And if at all it had taken your physical body into its control, then I should not know you, Brutus. I wouldn't have recognized you. There would have been a lot of change on your face, on your body. If that impatience had, affected your physical body as much as it has affected your mental state. Oh dear my Lord, make me acquainted with your cause of grief. Look at this. Once again she requests him. Oh dear my Lord, make me acquainted. Please share. Acquainted means introducing, sharing. You share your cause of you have to share the cause of your grief with me, because I'm your wife. What is the cause of your grief? Your impatience. You are not yourself. So as a wife, it is my duty to request you to share your grief with me. Because there is a famous saying, dear friends, that to divide your joy, share it with someone. In the same way, to forget your sorrows, you must share it with someone. Share them with someone. To reduce your sorrows, you should also be able to share them with someone. Understood? This is called reciprocation of tears. What we do is, dear friends, we just share our happiness, joys with others, and we keep sorrows to ourselves, which is very bad. Just as we share our joys with others, we should also be ready to share our, sorrows with others. Only then we would feel very light, and we would reduce the burden of those sorrows if we share them with others. And Brutus tells a lie to his wife. He says, I'm not with health. I'm not well in health. And that is all. No, don't be afraid. Don't be scared of my strange behavior, my dear wife. I'm not healthy. That is all. I'm not good in health. That's the reason. So he gives a false reason to his wife. And Portia is intelligent enough to know that a husband is telling her a lie. Portia says, Brutus is wise. If you say that you are not healthy, why the hell have you come out of your room into this raw, cold morning? How come you have exposed your unhealthy body to this raw, cold morning? Do you think that you are a fool to come out at this time of night, exposing your weak body to this raw, cold morning? No, Brutus, you are telling me lies, she says. Look at Portia. She says, if Brutus is not well, he would have his own methods of, making himself healthy. Not coming out like this and exposing his weak body to this raw, cold morning. And she says, no, Brutus, that's not the fact. You have some sick offense within your soul, which you are not ready to share with me, she says. She is a self-asserting woman, unlike Calpurnia. I'll talk about Calpurnia when I come to the conversation between the husband Caesar and his wife Calpurnia later on in the act, dear friends. Look at this. Portia says, Brutus is wise, Brutus is intelligent enough, and worry not in health. If he is not healthy, he would embrace the means to come by it. He would use the methods to make himself healthy. Brutus is wise, not unwise, Hence, Brutus, she says, her husband is telling him a lie that he is not well in health, and that is all. Then Brutus says, why? So I do. Good Portia, go to bed. So I do. No, I'm really not healthy. Please go to bed. Take your rest. Leave me alone, he says. Then look at Portia. Portia, I'll read out the entire passage and I'll explain this passage in my next video, dear friends. But kindly go through every line, try to understand how Portia responds to this line of Brutus when Brutus says, why, so I do. I'm not healthy. Good Portia, go to bed. When he says that, so he is ignoring his wife's requests. Look at Portia. Portia says, is Brutus sick? And is it physical to walk unbraced and suck up the humors of the dank morning? What, is Brutus sick? And will he steal out of his wholesome bed to dare the wild contagion of the night and tempt the roomy and unpurged day to add unto his sickness? No, Brutus. You have some sick offense within your mind, which by the right and virtue of my place I ought to know of. And upon my knees she kneels down, and upon my knees I charm you by my once commended beauty, by all your woes of love, and that great woe which did incorporate and make us one. Please, you unfold to me yourself, to your half, why you are heavy, on what men tonight had resort to you. For here have been some 6 or 7 men who did hide their faces even from darkness. You have to give reasons to all these things, my dear husband, she says. And in my next video, I'll explain every line of what Portia tells his wife, tells her husband, Until then, go through the passage, go through the speech, and then be ready. Mark where I have stopped, and let us meet in my next video. Bye bye. Take care. God bless you all.